Rebbe Elimelech of Lezhensk brings us, as usual, a beautiful way of understanding the deeper meaning in the pasuk. This week's Parshas Bo, and the parsha starts off with saying, "V'yemar Hashem and Moshe bo el Paraoh." Hashem says to Moshe, "Come to Paraoh." Says the Rebbe Elimelech, "Hadiktuk mefurish b'zohar hakodesh lech el Paraoh." The Zohar already picks up on this strange expression of saying "come to Paraoh" as if I'm at Paraoh. So come to me, come. It should have said, "Go to Paraoh, lech el Paraoh." But another question. Hashem is telling Moshe, come to Paraoh because I have hardened his heart. Why is that a reason? It's quite the contrary. If HaKadosh Baruch Hu hardened Paraoh's heart, what's the point in going? Of course he's not going to listen if Hashem hardened his heart. She explains the name Elimelech. When a tzaddik sees Nifloi Sabar, which means Nisim, or something which is beneath the surface, he sees HaKadosh Baruch Hu's hand in everything. Or if he hears from his friend HaTzadik, who's also a tzaddik, Devarim Kadoshim, holy words. Again, it's important to reiterate that although the name Elimelech, in its most simple sense, talks about the tzaddik as a lofty, high-elevated person, it applies to each and every one of us who's doing the right thing when we're doing the right thing. When a Yid is doing the right thing, he's called a tzaddik. Amich konom tzadikim, and therefore can apply to any of us. So, when a tzaddik sees the Parshas Bo, says the name Elimelech, or he hears an amazing Dvar Torah from his friend, he calls it Dvarim Kadoshim. Kadosh Divrei Torah are holy words. Dvarim Kadoshim. These are external factors which suddenly kindle and fire up his heart to say HaKadosh Baruch Hu in Avodas Hashem. Harasha, the Rasha is not so. When he sees amazing things. Always listening to the tzaddik who's saying something. Maybe it'll have effect for an hour, but it's not going to be a long-lasting fight. It's not going to be a long-lasting change. He's just going to go back to his ways after an hour. When it says an hour, it doesn't mean exactly an hour, but it means after a short amount of time. But it's not going to stay long with him, and he's like a dog that goes back on his excrement. But if a tzaddik talks to him every single day, and this Rasha, a tzaddik speaks to him every single day, or he sees amazing things that Hashem is doing day after day after day after day, it will last longer. Much longer, he says. This is what Bo el Paraoh means, come to Paraoh. Come to him day after day after day. And not as a one-off, which lech would seem to infer. Lech means just go one-off, and that's it, just go once. But Bo means keep on coming. That's why the pasuk says, come to Paraoh frequently, because I have hardened his heart. Paraoh is a Rasha, and therefore, because he's a Rasha, you must visit him day after day after day, because his heart is hardened, and therefore it requires repetition for it to last. That means that my particular wonders, Niflois, as he was talking about, which you will talk to him about every day. I will place in his heart. Meaning, if he just hears you once, he's just going to go back. And that's why it doesn't say my wonders. It says it says my signs, an ice, it can be translated as a sign of Hashem, but there's two meanings. Lashon Oisos also means letters. So therefore, even a letter is a sign of something. So the letter Aleph is a sign to read and think the sound Aleph. In itself, it is, or we know that there are many meanings in how the word Aleph is created, and it's not just I can say Aleph. but it teaches me a lot about what the word means and what echad is, and etc., etc. But ultimately, the truest form of the word ois is really a sign. A letter is a sign. So therefore, in this case, HaKadosh Baruch Hu used the words oisoisai, not nefloisai, which is more frequently used elsewhere, so that these letters, these Dvarim Kadoshim, can be placed in Paraoh's heart. And then the pasuk continues, so that you should tell your children, perish, and you should put in the ears of your sons. Perish to Hinesh Hashem. When a tzaddik sees HaKadosh Baruch Hu's miracles, Pam echad, one time, then by tzaddik, it will last for a long time in his heart. Every year, and when he comes back and does it again, so first, for himself, a tzaddik needs to hear it. And then the second time, it suddenly becomes something much stronger, much more powerful, and he can tell his children, because it's burning so strong, it's strong enough to light another fire. And it comes out that also this is a reason, the reason why Paraoh wouldn't listen the first time is so that there would be repetition. If there would be repetition, it would be strong enough for Klal Yisrael to have in their hearts and in their DNA for generations and generations to tell our children and our children's children about the miracles that they were there, because we were witnessing so many miracles day after day. And the reason for this, the reason why I've hardened Paraoh's heart to tell him day out and day in, day out, because his heart is hardened, and therefore it says boy. And why is his heart hardened? Well, aside from Paraoh making the choice himself, his heart is hardened because it serves a purpose for many generations to come, which is to tell our children of the amazing things that Paraoh did. So just in summary, what we see from here is that, when we learn, for example, when we learn the Torah, when we hear drashas and we hear whatever inspiring words, if it doesn't have an effect for long, and you're like, oh, what happened? I had this amazing thing, and I was completely blown away. Just repeat it. Repetition is key. We see here, of course, Chas v'Shalom, we're no Paraoh, we're no Rasha, but let us not kid ourselves that we are under the influence of being in Galus, with everything that entails, and we are under immense pressures, left, right, and center, from all angles, emotional, physical, mental, and so with repetition, we keep on learning and hearing, then the fire will burn brighter and brighter, and we will be able to give it over to our children. And bless us all that we should be able to have the awareness and the pureness of heart and mind to be able to let these words internalize to the deepest levels. Have a good week.